there. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Can we have the roll call, please?
Chairman Blair Stickland.
Here.
Vice Chair Jean Enright. Secretary Treasurer Peyton MacArthur.
Here.
Commissioner Wayne Richards. Here. Commissioner Catherine Walton. Here. Executive Director Manuel Elmira. Court Deputy Director Paul Zelinsky.
Here.
Court Counsel Greg Pickett.
Here.
We have four.
Okay, the record show that Commissioner Enright is here. Would you please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start the regular meeting, I was just hopeful. A lot of people might not know that the reason why our executive director is not here is that his sister Alicia passed away, I think Monday or Tuesday. And so if we can all just take a brief moment of silence in her memory. Thank you very much. Okay, approval of the minutes. I guess we have two. Let's see, from the workshop and the regular board meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Move. Commissioner MacArthur. Second. Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? All in favor, all opposed. Carries 5-0. Oh, okay. Good. All right. Additions, deletions, presentations, announcement, Paul?
Yes, we have two additions. One is a presentation. It's a presentation of the rail Jake Award to our rail staff for safety. We also are asking you to add age 13, which would be the Bahamas Paradise Second Amendment. And there are two deletions. One would be consideration of the visitor award to the main rail spur, and the other, of course, would be our executive director's performance evaluation.
Right, so age 12 is deleted. What's the other number? What's the other?
Age 5.
Age 5. All right. So I guess we need a motion to so move Commissioner Richards, second Commissioner Enright for the revised agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, all opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay. So. First, we want the presentation.
Yes. If Al Fawcett could come up to the front, please.
Come on up and let me read this on your way up.
Ken, why don't you join us?
Yeah. That's trained.
The whole group, come on up. In 2016, the Port of Palm Beach District Railway achieved a perfect safety record with no reportable injuries. In recognition of this outstanding achievement, the American Short Line and Regional Railroad Association has honored us with the 2016 Jake Award. Since its inception in 1995, the Jake Award program has evolved into the premier safety award in the short line community. The Jake Award is a testament to the dedication and professionalism of our employees and management team. This week is Rail Safety Week in the U.S., so it is fitting that we recognize our outstanding crew here today. Please join me in welcoming Al Fawcett, Trainmaster, and his rail crew. Very nice. Very good. Over here, everyone. Al.
Prayers.
All right, buddy. Congratulations.
Behind you guys.
Thank you. All right, we're going to get our picture taken.
How do you want me to
Turn on a little bit so we can see everyone. Happening.
Everybody smile.
Hi.
Tell who the workers are on the toilet.
We'll do the consent agenda.
Okay, moving right along. Yes.
On the H5 deferred, can you tell us why that's being deleted?
H5? Yes. We're still working with FDOT on the funding. We had hoped to have it finalized for the board meeting. There's still a few things up in the air. We'd like to bring it back next month when the funding is finalized.
I just wanted to share one thing with you. I was startled at the disparity between the high bidder and the low bidder, and that gives me concern. I love the low bid compared to the high bid, but at the same time, it makes me nervous. We've gone there before. I just want to share that with you.
Yeah. Well, one thing too is that the estimate was below the low bidder anyway. So is that correct? Well, I think
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
What I'll ask staff to do is, when it is presented, to give you some sort of confidence in the fact that whoever is awarded the bid is capable of doing the job right.
And they've been here for yeah. Yes.
I know we all respect the bidder, but my question is there another scale we can look at as far as quality, and if the person has so much experience doing this kind of work, now and then instead of just compared to a little bidder? I know Gonzalez and company, we've used that before, but I think now it's coming to, people who bid the things, they're trying to figure out who will end up with the lowest bid, and then they end up getting the top bid. As far as the work, and then they end up getting subs. So is there another route we can take if we know that the company is the lowest bidder, and we have evidence, and maybe have some kind of idea that maybe they can't do the work, and we select someone else?
When we do send the bids out, if it's a request for a bid, we are comfortable with the people that can do the work. If it's a request for proposal, then they need to provide their credentials. But we do, one way or the other, vet the companies to make sure that we're comfortable they can do the work.
And Greg, isn't it lowest and best bid too? It's not.
Well, it's lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Right. So that
We do check their backgrounds and do reference, so it's definitely not just one.
Okay. Consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they need to pull out? Yes.
It's nothing pulled out, but I had talked to Jerry about some of the things on the, like 7, and they made the correction as far as the dates and when things were supposed to have been budgeted for, and they were not in the right order in the right year. So she updated.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion approval. Commissioner Richards, second Arthur. Any other discussion? All in favor, all opposed, carries 5-0.
May I just say one thing about the E5? I mean, Josh just wanted to give some praise to Paul for taking care of the increasing the rate from 21 to 25. So thank you very much for doing that. Every little bit helps.
And that's 6 months, so we're still talking, because I've had other bankers get in touch with me and say, just give us a shot. I said, well, no problem, come on in and tell us what you can do, and we're open to all bids, basically.
More than just the rates, we asked for an increase in personal service. They've committed to it, they've given us a game plan, we've approved the game plan, and so far they've lived up to it with both response time. But the change in rates brings our annual interest from about $12,000 a year to $72,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it's a substantial increase. Want to make sure it happens and continues.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Kind of lowballing us for years. So. Okay, very good. So we'll move on to district reports. Paul, Executive Director's report.
With respect to the Executive Director's report, Carl Baker and the Executive Director worked very closely on this, and with your permission, I'd like Carl Baker to present the Executive report.
Okay.
Commissioners, good afternoon. Of course, we had Hurricane Irma came through town, and I'd like to explain a little bit about what that did to the port. The hurricane finished up Sunday night. We had our first employee, Rick Laceris, who still wants to be a Marine, was in the port at 6 o'clock Monday morning. And over the next 2 hours, there was a lot of staff and maintenance staff came in. And this is what they found. We had some damage up on the roof. All of the flashing all the way around the top of this building is essentially gone. The passenger loading bridge, you shouldn't be able to see the interior of the bridge. There should be a large metal corrugated panel there. It's somewhere in the slip, and there were several windows blown out in the bridge. Of course, the cruise terminal entrance, the canopy was completely taken apart. The Teeter's container wall over on the south side of the port is been put back together. By 10 o'clock Monday morning, when this picture was taken, you can see that we have a fully mobilized maintenance department. They had already rounded up 8 or 9 errant Yokohama fenders, and with CETO's assistance, they're already pulling these things out of the water. So this was 10 o'clock Monday morning. We had 3 abandoned sailboats. These were sailboats that had broken loose from their moorings out in the turning basin or the anchorage south of here and ended up in the port. We also had, sunk sailboats in the slip, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we had abandoned sailboats. There was, of course, other damage. We had 2 high-mast light poles come down, some small roof damage, various leaks and odds and ends, and it's estimated at about $1 million worth of damage right now, which, of course, we will be going after FEMA to reimburse us for. Wednesday morning, so that was on Monday. Wednesday morning, the Army Corps of Engineers were able to get in here with their survey boats. They were able to determine that nothing was sunk in the inlet or the turning basin. And at 12:30, the Coast Guard captain of the Port of Miami opened the port back up to vessel traffic. That was at 12:30. At 1 o'clock, we had our first ship come in. And you can see that up against Peanut Island, there are 2 of the 5 sailboats that ended up against Peanut Island. Also, there was another rather large sailboat crashed on the rocks at the FP&L beach just south of Berth 17. Additional damage is the docks on Peanut Island are essentially not there anymore. The pilings are there, and there's some random wood, but the docks are no longer usable.
Are all those ships gone now? All the ships that
No, sir. The sailboat's still there. It's up on the rocks.
All right, kind of tell us about that.
So Wednesday we had our first ship in at 1 o'clock. At 1:26 the Celebration came in. And you can see out behind it there was another tropical waiting to come in. And behind that tropical there were 2 more tropicals. And every 25-30 minutes we had another ship coming in Wednesday afternoon. So we got back up really fast. On Thursday morning, they drug the sailboat out of Slip 3. And one last thing on damage. This is a picture of the stone rock pile that was taken before the hurricane came in. This picture was taken by myself about 9:15 Monday morning. None of the scrap had moved. There was nothing. It was just sitting there. Over the next couple of days, the Grand Celebration had been providing some support for the community. There was some people that had been displaced out of an apartment complex when their roof came off, and they also operated as a hotel for a couple of days, providing some air conditioning and hot food for people who did not have it at home. But then the Celebration went off to the Virgin Islands to act as a hotel ship for the National Guard and the other FEMA people that are putting the Virgin Islands back together. They also took with them one of the port customs teams. And these are guys who normally work at the port, and they're now down in the Virgin Islands. Last month, at the end of the month, we had an FSTED meeting, and in that, the port was awarded $2 million for additional rail expansion, and we were awarded $2.5 million for a multi-ship loading bridge. Of course, we have to match both of these at 50-50, but we got the funds for this. Yesterday, IDE attended a meeting of the United Way of Palm Beach County, and after the meeting, they were assembling literacy kits for the children. For events, this afternoon at 6:30, there's a City of Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Myself, Casey Long, and Larry Smith will be attending that meeting. This is about the annex property. On the 2nd of October, there's a meet and greet with Governor Scott down in Miami, and right now the plan is for Ms. Cazuera to attend that meeting. We've got a meeting with the town of Palm Beach on the 5th, and then there's a meeting with the Business Development Board here at the port on the 11th. And one last thing, in your packet you'll find a letter that was written and delivered today from Rick Morrell from Tropical Shipping, and he talks about what Tropical has been doing since the hurricanes. And just two numbers that have come out of there. Since the hurricane have gone through, they put 55 ships into the islands carrying supplies, and there were 4 ships of theirs that are, they're ships that we never see here that are in our island that went into San Juan. So that letter is in your folder. And that's all I have. Do we have any questions?
I have a question, and you
Yes,
may not
ma'am.
be able to answer this, but now that the Jones Act has been waived, is that, I assume that's a good thing for Tropical, or does that not really impact them?
It is a good, yeah, it is a good thing. It is, because now they can, they can always toss, put another ship down there. Now their ship that runs inner island, can come directly back and get something and take it, so they're not having to do a transfer. So that reduces the cost. So yes, it's a good thing. And not just for Tropical, but for Puerto Rico, it's a good thing.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Engineering report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will present the engineering report for the projects taking place at the port, Palm Beach. I will start off with the verse 17 update. Project on the site has not been very significant since the last board meeting. The contractor has continued to work on the activities related to the bulkhead. They have completed 100% of the construction of the bulkhead on the north side. They're still working on the west side. Today they completed 95% of that wall. And during the month of October, they will continue to work on the south bulkhead wall. Even though the north wall is being completed 100%, there's still pending some repairs of the concrete defects that were found in the wall and in the backslab. As of the beginning of this month, AECOM has incorporated a full-time engineer to the field inspection activities, who has been monitoring the daily construction progress and will be in charge of inspecting all the repairs that are going to be performed on the north wall. The concrete repairs process has been approved by the AECOM structural engineer, and this repair will guarantee that the final product has the same structural integrity as the original design. Even though the repairs had not begun, the contractor has to do some assessment in the equipment that they're going to use throughout the repairs. You can see in the picture is one of the workers doing an assessment on the area. Repairs have not been begun yet. They're expected to be to commence next week. You can see here in the picture, this is the steel forms for the last pour of the west wall. This is a picture looking from the east to the west side, and the same picture to the other side. This is the pour that took place last Monday. As of today, the contractor is doing tomorrow the final pour for the west wall. So by next week, the only wall that will be remaining of the bulkhead will be the south wall. Right now, the south wall is being in the process of rebar installation by the iron workers. Being subcontracted by LMH. And that bulkhead will be that section of the bulkhead will be completed throughout the month of October. This week also the contractor mobilized some of the steel piles for the dolphin structure that are going to be driven in the water side of the project, and they also mobilized the dredging equipment which arrived yesterday at the project. Dredging will supposed to start tomorrow. As there's still prep activities where they're going to begin dredging tomorrow. So this is an animation process of the last update that the contractor provided, in which they stated that during the month of October they're going to complete the construction of the bulkhead on the inland water side of the project. They will be doing the dredge under the dolphin structure and right in front of the berth. And after that they will continue with the driving of the piles under the dolphin structure. These activities are the ones that need to be completed before November 15, which is the beginning of the manatee season, which restrict all the water work to be performed at the area. Even though there's still some water work to be performed, the FTEP has expressed that the remaining work can be done through manatee season only if the contractor maintain a manatee spotter throughout the process. So after November 15th.
You say manatee spotter?
Manatee spotter.
Okay, thank you.
The manatee spotter is a trained worker that looks out for manatee. So basically the most restricted activities are the dredging, since the equipment that is used is a clamshell, and the precaution is not to get a manatee while the clamshell is going down, and obviously the pile driving.
That would be good.
No. So if this date is met, the contractor can continue with the work of the construction of the dolphin structures, can remove the system sheet pile and do the dredging inside the berth on the land side, and continue with installation of the catwalk and the fenders. Based on the update that the contractor has submitted today, they're comfortable in saying that the project will be substantially completed by December and finally completed by January. Based on my experience doing this type of work, in order for LMH to be able to complete this, and mostly because of the items that need to be completed before manatee season, they will have to be very consistent in the production throughout the next 6 weeks in order to meet those 3 basic activities about dredging and pile driving and riprap, which I didn't mention before, but the riprap that will protect the toe of the piles. We're going to continue to monitor the progress of the construction. By next board meeting, which will be at the end of October, we should be able to determine if we're going to meet that date or not. If the activities that are required to be performed before November 15 are not met, or not completed by that date, the orders should be stopped and be continued in April 1. That's our biggest concern right now. As of today, through August application, the contractor has invoiced 76% of the contract, and still spending some additional works that need to be done concurrently with the works that are being presented here. In the upland area, they need to complete the asphalt work and some minor works that are related to the project. That's all related to personnel team. If you have any questions, I will go to the next one.
No, ongoing.
The other project we're working on is MOC 4th floor office without. As of today, the contractor had completed all the work related to the walls, framing, gypsum work, installation of acoustical ceiling grid, conduits, fire system piping. This week, they started off with the flooring. So basically, the project is on track. The only activities that are taking place as we speak are the AV air conditioner unit installation on the vents and the flooring installation. After that, the pending activities will be the acoustical ceiling tiles, lighting fixtures, doors, and finishes. If everything goes according to plan, substantial completion will be met by the end of November. The contractor will request the city inspector to come in during the month of December, and after that, the project will be final completion and will be useful for the port.
Is there any holdups with inspections going on now, or is it going pretty smooth?
Going pretty good. The only inspection that is left before the final completion is above ceiling, and all the time that we schedule the inspection, they'll show up on time, so there hasn't been any hold up regarding inspection.
Okay.
If any other question regarding the
Any
project?
questions? Anything else?
Yes, it will be.
Oh.
We have been going through 13 out of the 28 weeks of design that we built up in our original schedule. Right now, we we are waiting on the final, on the 33% package of the design. But we have not been able to complete that package since we're waiting on some information from FPNL in order to complete the final reefer layout and the 35% package of design. Since your account, Irma, FPNL has informed that they are working on getting their system back together, and basically they're just saying that just wait on the call. So far it's been 3 weeks after that, and we're still waiting for the information. After we receive the information, we will need an additional 30 days to complete the final package to be delivered to the port for the 35% design package. That package was scheduled to be received in October. If we were able to receive the information from FPNL today, the delivery of that package could be performed by the 27th of October, which will be 2 weeks later than estimated. So today we haven't received any additional information. Hopefully we will receive something in the next week. We built up 10 weeks throughout the design and bidding process of the project to be able to meet the agreement with Tropical. During that schedule, we built up 10 weeks that we could move around if we have some holdups at least this month. So right now we are getting 2 weeks into the holdup, so we still have 8 weeks in order to manage to delay the design and still meet the first agreement of June 30th, 2018 for the permitting process. It's not good, but we still have time built into the schedule.
The last time we talked to FPNL, did they give us any information when they might be able to furnish this?
The last communication was today. We
Okay.
received an email in which they say that they're still moving around, getting back the system together today, and probably by next week we will get an answer from them.
Okay.
If that happens, then we go through the design process. 30 days after that, we receive the 35% design package.
Anything else? Any questions? Okay, Mr. Pinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Richard Pinsky, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Richard Pinsky, and Tallahassee. You've got the report in your book. Tallahassee's begin to heating up with committee meetings, which will be starting the week of October 9th. We have another one in October, 2 in November, and the budget hearings will probably be finalized by the first part of January. The governor is going to be presenting his budget in December. We don't really have a budget request yet. Part of H5 being removed fits into the bigger picture of trans systems and their report that's going to be finalized for all the on-port rail. It may be beneficial for the sake of showing an additional match that what we may want to do is roll in a portion of H5 into the big picture. It may help us, it might not, we'll see. So there may be an ask over and above the $85 million Enterprise Florida grant that we're doing on Port Rail. As Mr. Carl Baker told you, we have gotten some award of monies already from the FDOT Rail Fund. I think that was $3.5 million that we will match. So we are close to actually identifying all the funding sources for the complete on-port rail project. Don't know the total dollar amount yet because Trans-Systems has not finished their report, which should be the first part of next week. So stay tuned, good things are going to happen. I don't really anticipate, unless directed by you, otherwise for any other additional capital expenditure appropriation requests in Tallahassee. I did circulate an email about the Select Committee on Hurricane Preparedness that the House has formed. We did have a hiccup as identified by Carl Baker as well about the port opening. What we don't want to have is a situation where after a hurricane, not necessarily even impacting South Florida, but impacting the islands, that we have relief supplies sitting on the dock, unable to get to the islands or Puerto Rico, wherever it may be. So that may be an issue that we want to raise during the Select Committee. They're looking for issues like that, of what would be protocols of how to get relief supplies in a port. We're not a critical port as far as fuel goes, but we may be a critical port as far as relief supplies go as an export. Finally, Representative Jacquette, as you know, is our House member. His aide Kesnell is here today, and so I've asked Kesnell if he would not mind during this report to share some comments from Representative Jacquette. If you have any other questions about my portion, then I'll turn it over to Kesnell.
In your written report, on the federal one, you were mentioning that if we were able to dust off our last submission and get it submitted by October 16th, are we going to be able to do that?
Maybe. Great question. Thank you very much. And I was sort of going to leave it dusted. It turns out, as Director Almira called, along with Carl, and pointed out, our last submission, I'm getting old, was slip 3. I thought we had actually done an on-port rail submission. So the only thing we could dust off is something that's already been done. But what Carl and Director Almira are going to be doing is when we get the trans-system report, and it's going to be a tight window, but how much of that could be just cut and paste, lifted, and maybe put into a quick tiger before the deadline. So that remains to be seen. It will be maybe not dusted off, but it would be a cut and paste. There's no word yet. There is money in the Senate version, but there's no word yet on this current budget proposal on whether Tiger, there will be a 1819 Tiger.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the select committee and the hurricane preparedness. I think that our port does a really good job of getting prepared, but I think that I wanted your opinion as to if you think it might be worthwhile to put together maybe a temporary community-led ad hoc committee just to kind of, go over what our processes and procedures are, ways to improve, or reach out to other organizations. I do know that during the preparedness, the county and the mayors were all on conference calls, and I think that might be something that in the future would be good for, our port to participate in as a way to, we can help too. So I just wanted to get your thoughts.
Right. And I think you personally right now are currently involved in an effort on behalf of Puerto Rico and whatnot, so it's hitting home, I understand. And Commissioner Richards in the past has usually been stepped up for the Bahamas. So yes, the answer is absolutely, because I may know, so yes, the answer is absolutely, because I may know, this portion of it, you may know that, but the more people involved will identify just what is needed in those protocols. I don't know what it is. Tropical will have to be at the table, but somebody knows how to quickly expedite supplies from both the retail establishments, getting them to the port, and then getting them loaded, and how fast can you do that, and what the Coast Guard can do for us. So absolutely.
I'd like to just make that as a suggestion to the commissioner, so that support it.
Yeah, we'll get staff absolutely to look into it. It's a good idea.
Okay.
If anybody wants to help Puerto Rico, call you.
Pretty much that's what's happening all around.
That's very good. All right,
yes.
Kesnell.
Mr. Chairman of Board of Commissioners and Mr. Pinsky, as always, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. As you know, all appropriations have to be submitted in the form of a bill, and the Appropriations Committee has not yet established a deadline, but we do urge you guys to get all acts into our office as soon as possible. Our office stands in full support in the port's efforts, and whatever it is that you may need. I understand that you guys are spearheading an effort to send some supplies over to Puerto Rico. Again, our office is readily available to assist. We still have some supplies left from our last round, so we're ready to, whenever the drop-off date or location is established, we're ready to drop that off. I left my contact information out front. Should you guys need to get in touch with me or our office, that's where you can find it. Again, thank you very much.
Good, thank you so much for helping. Okay, Richard, that's it? You got anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Business.
Chair,
Cazuera, Senior Director of Business Development and Communications. At the August board meeting, the commission asked staff to please put together a roundtable discussion to discuss Peanut Island with interested parties in the community, including the county. We did so. We held that meeting on September 14th. I think we had an excellent turnout. We had approximately 20 people here. There were many discussions, many very good discussions. The Maritime Museum was here. They talked about the facilities, some of the past, some of the things they had done in the past. They let us know that the facilities were eligible for National Registry of Historic Places. Those were some discussions in terms of, is that something that we would want to move forward with or not? I think those discussions need to take place down the road once we know the direction of the board, how we want to move forward with the facilities on Peanut Island. Improvements to those facilities, of course, would vary. The cost would vary depending on whether or not they are in the National Registry, of course. Find was here. They were represented as well. They talked about a grant program called Wastewater Assistance Program. This is a grant program that these facilities would qualify for. We could apply for them in January. We would have to have phase 1 identified, which is the design, engineering, and permitting. We would also have to have phase 2 laid out. And we could apply for those grants in January. They would start dispersing those grants once phase 2 began. And so we have the paperwork for that, and that is something that we will start looking into.
These are grants for what purpose?
For refurbishment of the facilities.
In general?
Yes. We also had Palm Beach County represented. The representatives that were here were from Parks and Recreation. They indicated that they felt the county would be probably willing to move forward to share 50-50 in the cost to further look at some additional assessments of the facilities in terms of the structural assessment. Since then, we've talked to a few of our engineers about a structural assessment. There has not been one done. We have had a general conditions assessment done. That is an assessment that gives us a listing of the items that need to be looked at, taken care of, the facilities, the docks. It does not have an associated financial impact for those items that need to be addressed. A structural assessment, however, we've been told would require someone to come in and physically tear out walls, tear out ceilings, roofs, to look down into the structure of the facilities themselves. So it's an aggressive assessment, and that's something that really needs to be considered when we look at where we're going to go into the future with the facilities and Peanut Island in general. There were also some discussions on bringing in a renovation expert, which we felt was very highly suggested. Those were some of the action items that came out of the meeting, and we talked about having ongoing meetings. At this point, I would ask also that Ken come forward and talk about a transition plan. As we know, the Maritime Museum lease is expiring, and November 1st it will be back in the port's hands until we can come forward with what the board would like to do moving with the property, whether we go out with an RFP or whether we skip that process and negotiate directly with the county. And I think that from what we heard in the roundtable discussion, that was really what we heard. We heard that from people in the community, very loud and clear, and I think it was very well supported.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. First, I'd like to thank Anthony Miller from the Maritime Museum. He's been very open and forthcoming in communications on the property in relation to the transition. We have a transition action plan for the facility sustainment. This is to kind of keep the facility where it's at until the major projects can be completed. But what we're going to do is go out there and install a wireless security system in the facility. That's the Kennedy bunker, the Coast Guard house, as well as the boathouse. That's going to include burglar alarms, smoke detection, motion detection, glass breaking detection. We're going to replace all locks and deadbolts within the facility. Nobody is going to put wood on the windows. We're not going to board up. We're not going to board it up. You don't have to. There's enough technology out there that we should be able to protect it without having to board it up. We're going to install some trespass warning signs as appropriate. We're also going to go out there with an electrician and an AC tech. We want to make sure that all the electrical is safe. It's been well taken care of, but we want to go out there and just take another look just to make sure. My biggest fear is, since it's all made of wood, that something could catch fire and the place go down. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to make sure the AC systems are given an annual physical just to make sure that they're maintained, so we can maintain the moisture inside the facility so it doesn't get out of control. Groundkeeping equipment, we're going to go ahead and take over a riding lawnmower, edgers, blowers, everything else, so we can maintain the property in a condition that's favorable for viewing. We're going to also transfer all utilities into the port's name as well. We have collaboration with city, county, and federal law enforcement for emergency responses out there. I've had communications with Riviera Beach PD as well as Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Marine Lieutenant for responding out to alarm calls as appropriate. And we are going to actually have proper permitting for all the alarms that we're going to be installing. And we're going to clearly publish contact information, so if there's any issues out there, whether it's from law enforcement or the general public, they'll all have my cell phone number so they can call me directly, and we'll get out there. And we're also going to go out and do safety and security inspections out there at least twice a week. Thank you.
Facilities like this, and we don't want to do this for an hour more than we have to, so that's incumbent upon all of us to find a long-term solution. I've heard stories of native Palm Beachers during their youth going over to the bunker and visiting. So we want to make sure
they were never able to convict me of that.
We want to make sure that doesn't happen. We want to make sure there isn't any vandalism. And obviously on the weekends there's quite a bit of traffic over there. So with your background, you will have heightened presence during those periods.
I've been going to that property since I was 5 years old. I love it. There's only probably 4 people in this room that love it as much as I do. I'm going to make sure it's safe, sir.
And what about liability, potential liability issues? We're
Fully insured.
And safety as well. We don't want somebody to get hurt. We don't want to get trapped in nuisances. So we need to look at all that. We're really not in the business of maintaining that kind of facility, so we need to work very quickly to end that.
If I could just add something on that note, Commissioner. The gentleman from Parks and Recreation, we've been in discussions with him about having the county put someone out there as a caretaker for the island, and we just heard back that they are prepared to do that. And so they're in the processes of having those discussions among themselves to see if they can find someone to put on the island to care for the island. So there's actually physically someone there on the island.
Thank you.
I just have one question. Can we contact the federal government to see, I know things on the historical sites and things of that nature, to see how they can assist? Because I've heard people have different programs across the country and they're able to give so much funding, or even if someone else takes it over, they can still provide assistance in funding because it is the budget.
Yes, Commissioner, you're absolutely correct. There are many programs out there that we can tap into, whether it's the port or the county or a third party, depending on the route that the board would like to go. But you're absolutely right. Many programs.
But I think we should start investigating, even if we are not the individual to take over. You know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, so I don't think we should just sit up here. We should start, Mr. Chairman, having the staff to start looking into different programs, and we can at least submit information and credentials, and maybe, who knows?
Well, Peyton, was at the meeting, so anyway.
Well, I think we're looking at everything. I mean, obviously, both the Coast Guard station and the bunker were federal facilities. And so I would think the federal government would be interested. We didn't want to pull up with Doesn't the county already have a person on the north end of the island?
They do.
Okay, so this would be an additional person at our area?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And I think we need, as Commissioner Richard said, we need to expedite everything we can as quickly as possible. There is, we still need to do some education, like for instance, one of my discussions with Virginia Baker, she was under the impression that if the port wanted to, the port could raise an almost unlimited amount of money in tax from them. I explained to her that that wasn't the case, but we need to make sure, you know, all the facts are out so everybody has the same information. We need to, at some point, talk to Commissioner Valche, who was at the meeting, and maybe Commissioner Valche would be able to lead, you know, bring it up at the county commission meeting. In every instance that we've spoken to the county, Virginia Baker has insisted that before she would consider committing county funds, they've all said too also, they're not concerned about the renovations and capital investment to bring the facilities up to standard. What the county is concerned about is the ongoing operating costs, which is a different issue. They all seem to be confident that Eric Hall from Parks told me he didn't see any problem raising the capital money that we need to preserve the island. But we need to do that structural assessment, and as you stated, the representative of the county, and unfortunately Eric called, the director wasn't there because he was out surveying parks after Hurricane Irma. But the gentleman that was there basically indicated that he thought the county would be willing to, they estimated it would be $40,000 for the structural analysis, and they basically came away with, if the port would commit 20, they were certain the county would commit 20. And the important thing is, the reason we have to do that is, we can't ask people to make an open-ended commitment. We've got to have something on paper that says, this is what it's going to cost to accomplish this. Then we can ask people, will you support 20% of this? Will you support 50% of this? Will you be willing to take it over? But we have to have that structural analysis. So I would like to see the board today give staff the direction to contact Eric Hall and make that commitment that we would be willing to commit up to $20,000 for such an analysis. Now, whether that would include what you said about the historical, I don't know. And I don't think we want to do the historical. We want to keep that in our back pocket, but we don't want to do that until we've made a determination of what we're going to do.
Karen Marcus, come on up. Karen, she's been following this for years and years and very active in this, and you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. My name is Karen Marcus. I'm here on behalf of the Palm Beach Civic Association and Ned Barnes, and in my prior life, this was certainly a priority for me to have the county actually be able to maintain and facilitate and have it become a part of Peanut Island. And I think we're actually close to getting there. I did attend the roundtable event. We identified priorities. One of them was the structural engineering. You can't do anything until you know what the structural issues are. So I think if the port is willing to do half the cost, I have talked to Eric about the full cost being about $40,000, so that should take care of that. That way they can start that process. And then I understand there was a meeting with Commissioner Balachet and the park staff and others. And I think that Eric is talking about, as you said, putting somebody else additional on the island, because there already is someone on the other side of the island. I have reached out to Commissioner Bernard, since his district is half of the island, and we're going to have lunch and talk about his involvement to make sure when this comes to the commission, they have their support. And I think the rest of the priorities that we identified at that last roundtable meeting was get the structural review going, and also figure out who's going to watch it and take care of it in the time that it's going to take to actually design, submit the grant. I'm very comfortable that FIND, who was very enthusiastic, was at that roundtable also will be able to come up with the funds to pay for it. I also have a meeting with Eric Hall next Friday with some private sector individuals who want to talk about how we can have it move forward also. So I think things are going well. Also, my task was to get the Historical Society, who was unable to make it to the meeting that day because of the storm, but Jeremy Johnson is here to express, I think, support for the bunkers.
You can come on up, Jeremy. Can I ask a question for Karen? Go ahead.
Karen, thank you. You mentioned private sector. I'm curious, what would the private sector want to do over there? Are you looking to have major glamorous events?
No. We made it very, very clear that this is not an events issue, that it is really a management, but to take the bunker and highlight the historical aspects of it, which is where the relationship with the Historical Society comes in. So, yes, it's no events.
Okay, thank you for making that clear.
No, I made that very clear myself.
Yes, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeremy Johnson, President and CEO of the Historical Society of Palm Beach County. And I'm here, unfortunately, I was not able to make the meeting on the 14th, but clearly I think we all agree there is great historical significance to the Kennedy bunker and the Coast Guard compound. And so I'm here on behalf of the Historical Society just to really at this point join in the dialogue. And I want to offer my services to a collective to help find a solution for this really, I think, fantastic opportunity for the county. So to the extent that I can give assistance and the Historical Society can give assistance, we're happy to participate in the dialogue.
Good. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So thank you very much. I think now we probably need a motion then for $20,000 to $20,000 for the structural study, which I think we're willing to do.
I'd like to make a motion to direct board staff to work with the county and to commit up to $20,000 for a structural analysis of the Peanut Island facilities.
Okay, with a motion. Further second question, discussion?
I definitely support this. How would the engineer be selected by?
Well,
Do we know?
no. Karen, do you have any ideas?
I can tell you, just in case you don't recall, the general conditions assessment was done by Casey Long at the time he was with CH2M Hill. That assessment will be provided to the group that was at the meeting, as well as they did ask for a list of the violations. There were some code violations, you may recall, and so both of those items are to be provided at our next meeting.
The question is, who would, we're committing to spend up to 20 plus 20. The question is, is there a process and how might that entity be selected?
Karen, do you have any
idea?
Yeah, I would assume the county certainly has people in mind that could do the work.
Yeah, I think, Karen Marcus again, I think Eric had an idea of current county vendors that he could just segue into, so and piggyback on.
This would be a new area for the port. I think the county's already has this type of expertise. I think, as much as I hate to give anybody our money, I think we would have to yield to the county because I think they already have the expertise.
Just for clarification on that, so part of that is that we are going to move forward to work with and negotiate with the county exclusively.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0.
Does staff need any direction, Mr. Chairman, relative to the action plan stated, or is it obvious?
I think it's pretty obvious that the staff has been hammered on, we want to get this done, we want to work with the county.
About the security of the facilities and all that, do they need anything from us? Are they?
I think Ken's pretty much on top of it, so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good. All right, so it's positive. I guess we're at new business, Paul.